Welcome to the Lair, a place where interesting people you may know tell you things you didn't. So grab a chair and your favorite vice and get comfortable. There are no rules in the Lair, but there is Laura Babcock. You know her from TV, and she is not into media monogamy. Let's find out who else is in the Lair.
But it's beautiful, though.
Yeah,
you know when it's done.
It was very
welcome to the Lair cast. To our peanut gallery, you're missing. Yo yo yo.
The number exists. It's not.
Hi guys, we're back on air, and we've been having a fascinating conversation about tattoos. I recently tattooed my children's names to my arms.
Tattooed your children?
Names to my arm. Did we learn in the last Laircast with Terry Cook that we need to let each other finish our sentences, Lauren? So we'll work better on that sophisticated dialogue that Terry left us on.
I lived downtown most of my life, so bear with me.
Yeah, so you're very sophisticated. So talk.
Scrappy and touchy.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't say that about downtown.
Huh? Those are your cats' names?
No, of course.
But
Chippy, yeah.
You were just about to tell us about all your tattoos. So, what are they? You've got a huge Star of David on your chest over your heart.
That's true. There's, I wish I could, there's a lot to disrobe, but I have a giant...
Don't disrobe, just tell us.
No, don't do that.
We don't want to see them.
This bicep is a giant yes.
A giant...
Y-E-S.
Okay.
It's not a giant arm. We've seen your arm.
There's a trainer in the house.
Is that casino related?
Yes, it is.
Is it? Okay.
So you've got you've got a
casino.
large yes on your arm.
Yes.
And what does that mean?
The band.
The band.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Why do you know his tattoos so intimately?
No, I know the band.
We've snuggled.
If I ever get a tattoo, I just told Laura, if I ever get a tattoo, it's going to be 2 eyeballs on my back looking that way.
That's kind of creepy. Why do you need eyes on your back, Fred Eisenberger?
To keep an eye on my back.
To keep getting stabbed by...
I just thought it was funny.
From
Thank you.
certain sports franchises who
No,
might try to
no,
undermine your dreams for a
no,
stadium location.
I'm past that now, I think. I've gotten therapy for that. I'm better. I'm okay. I'm all right.
Guys, Fred Eisenberger's had therapy for the Pan Am stabbing. Yeah. You're missing this in the peanut gallery.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, actually, not.
2 minutes.
Yeah, first tap to becoming whole again. Yeah.
Self-awareness is a wonderful thing.
It is.
It is. So since we started on that not at all touchy subject
And
of
may I
the
mention
Pan
CM wearing the gold and black?
You like the golden black? She's dressed like a Tie-Cat cheerleader just to
Yeah,
mess with your head.
I know, that's hurtful.
I walked in, and the first person I saw this morning said, "Do you have your bumblebee outfit on today?"
No, you know what?
I swore at him.
You deliberately dressed like a Tie-Cat cheerleader so that Fred would feel bad.
If I hadn't
Go.
done that, I could have never made the connection.
Well, a soccer team in Hamilton would be great.
So you're nice. So seriously, because the last time you were here in the Laircast was one of our most listened to Laircasts ever. I think we had like 30,000 hits on it within a month, which is pretty crazy. 7,000 in the first. He's chatty now. He's had 2 Heinekens by my count.
Well, 2 Heinekens and something.
We'll get him, and he's no longer a municipal official, so he's free and relax. Hi guys, how's the honeymoon? Still going? Awesome. I digress. That was Martinez and his lovely wife. I forget your name. Nina. Martinez and Nina. So last time you were here, we got a huge listen because people, I think, were craving your vision for the city, and given what had been going on, they wanted to hear from you, and it went huge. You ran into Lauren, I guess, before Christmas, and said, "Get me back in that Laircast." So Lauren said, "Laura, Fred wants back on." I'm like, "Well, he's one of our best listened to podcasts, so we're happy to have you back." So what gives? What do you want to talk about?
Whatever.
You're
you know what?
for
We
your
can
mayoral run?
take off where Terry kind of
Hold
left
on.
off.
I asked an important
I
question.
read a book while I was on holidays. It was called All the Presidents, and it was all about the various presidents, all going back to Hoover and Truman, and then following through. So ex-presidents and what they meant to the active current president at the
So
time.
clearly you're still interested in leadership at the highest level. So are you here to announce you're running for... Are you here to announce you're running for mayor as the camera snaps over my shoulder?
No,
I'm
here to announce that I'm undecided, but I won't rule it out, for sure.
I
Won't
think
rule
that's
it
a scoop in a bit. Because I'd heard through the chattering classes, of which there are a number in this town, as you know, that you were seriously considering it, that you were putting out your feelers, you were having dinner parties. We've been hearing this from lots of people. I've had people private message me, I'm not going to say their names, but their initials are JD, saying, off the record, Laura, he's serious. So then you say, can I do a Lair cast? And I'm thinking maybe you're going to announce.
No, I'm not. No, I just thought we had a good time last time, so we happened to bump into it. It was a very casual statement.
All right.
It got translated into he wants to be there. That wasn't quite the case,
Yeah,
but
well, that's all right.
I like being here. It was fun. It's fun.
You don't want
What's
to be
what?
here?
You don't want to be here?
Right now, I want to be here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually, there's no other place I'd rather be.
That'll change any minute. It's what we do. But you said you're not ruling it out. To me, that's significant.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'm passionate about this city.
He rubbed his nose, which
I
in Body
spent-
Language 101 is an
Spent
admission
a couple of years in Toronto, working in Toronto, and lovely place, Toronto. I think it's very interesting, fascinating town, and I work for a great organization, the Urban Institute, which I think is spectacular. But a 2-hour both way or 4-hour a day commute for me was difficult, and quite frankly, I care about Hamilton. I'm not so concerned about Toronto, so I have really decided to kind of come back and find my path here in Hamilton in some manner or another. So I've reinstituted my own my consulting firm, and I'm doing some consulting work. And I'll kind of explore other opportunities, and then we'll see what happens down the road. And do I still have the passion and the fire? Absolutely. I mean, I care about a lot of the issues that you and Terry talked about a little while ago, and clearly, let me be a little provocative. I've kind of watched the last few years of kind of zero tax increases, which sounds terrific. It sounds like we're heading towards an enormous amount of efficiency, when in fact, we're actually disadvantaging ourselves because we have an enormous infrastructure problem that isn't being addressed as a result. And that's not only this municipality, it's Ottawa and it's Toronto. Both governments are doing exactly the same thing.
Well, if you look at New York City, they have high taxes but high value for those dollars, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not advertising for high taxes, but I'm advertising or promoting the notion that we need to collect what we need to actually make a functional and viable city and keep it that way. And to do the opposite, I think, is doing ourselves some harm.
So Fred, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot,
Yeah, go ahead.
what is your vision for a functional, viable city?
Wow. Well, you know what? A functional, viable city has a stadium somewhere downtownish.
And a casino, is there a casino next to it? Come on.
And has a casino somewhere out of townish.
There you go.
That doesn't impact or negatively impact the downtown. I mean, I think you can use the reverse debate, quite frankly, between the stadium and the casino. I think the stadium, would have been a great draw for downtown. It would have brought a lot of opportunity. Would have brought a lot of opportunity to restaurants and bars downtown.
And open up a restaurant besides something that's open 9 times a year, though, Fred.
But it's used much more than that, Lauren. As you know, 90% of the time, 90% of the use in the stadium. I don't want to get into a stadium debate, but 90% of the use, 90% of the use, 90% of the use was community use. So you attract people. It brings a lot of activity, and you don't detract from anything that's happening downtown. So it's a benefit.
So because
on
I'm
the casino
so-
side, quite the opposite.
I'm so
actually.
interested, I mean this, I'm not being facetious, which
Yeah.
is rare. I'm so interested in your vision for a sustainable downtown. I want it on the record for the 30,000 people who heard you last time. Let's not get into the muck of the casino debate, because I know that's a sore spot and an easy spot to exploit. What is your vision?
Well, I mean, clearly, it's a sustainable city is when you collect the appropriate taxes to actually maintain our infrastructure. Right now, we're about $150 million short on an annual basis to do the roads, the sewers, the bridges, all the things that need to happen. That's a critical issue, and I think we're deluding ourselves that we can do it by creating more efficiencies. I'll be a little bit more controversial. I think the firefighting service that we have today is a funding nightmare, quite frankly. It needs to change. Somehow, we've got fire, police, and paramedics all showing up to someone that falls on the sidewalk. It's ridiculous.
How do you feel about the police budget?
It's ridiculous. The policing budget is an unusual problem, and it's not the budget that's the problem. It's the negotiated contracts that's the problem. And ironically, some of the very people that are now trying to stop the police chief from putting forward his budget are the same people that have negotiated the wage contracts for police officers and the associations. So that is essentially the problem. The wage increases are the problem that on an ongoing basis. So that's a serious issue, and I think that, you know, those are some of the areas where we can create efficiencies. But, you know, having said that, there's not a lot of fat in the municipal budgets, quite frankly. We are underfunded. We are underfunded by the federal government. We are underfunded by the provincial government, and we underfund ourselves by not collecting the kind of revenue that we need to actually maintain our city. What is a sustainable city then? A sustainable city is one that that doesn't, you know, rely on unnecessary taxes to make the city functional, but collects the appropriate amount of taxes to actually make it viable.
And is this something you've learned in your time at the Urban Institute?
No,
Has it put it
God,
into
no. I mean,
focus?
this is old news. This is not. This is you know.
No, but I'm saying why is this
municipal policy 101.
now? Because twice now I've given you open mic to lay down your vision for the city, and
Yeah.
you possibly might run for mayor. And some in this room might argue that we've been devoid of vision the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So you've had a golden opportunity here, and you keep going around to the sustainable or to this tax structure. And so I'm just saying, what has put this into strong focus for you? The last couple of years of perspective, the work at the Urban Institute, or why is this sort of the platform you're deciding to bring up?
I don't have a platform. You asked me a question, so
Yeah, I asked you a
I'm thinking
platform
I'm thinking on my feet here. So one of the issues is the taxation issue.
Right.
Another is, I mean, what kind of community we want to have. You know, what kind of employment do we want to have? You know, I kind of led the charge in upgrading the economic development initiatives and funding to have more people do more work to generate more economic development activity and generate higher paying jobs. And so I think that's a greater focus. So the Canada Breads of this world, I think, is a much bigger win than a casino will ever be. So those are the kind of jobs
they
that I think
produce
we
them.
want to have, as opposed to a $10 or $12 an hour job. I'd sooner go for the $27 an hour job. So my concept for a community is we shouldn't be scrambling for the first thing that comes through the door.
The
We
first
shouldn't be deciding in fear on any issue. We should have confidence in our city that we have a viable city. That we can pick and choose the things that we want to have, and we can make choices.
Hear, hear,
And
it's called confidence.
those choices will dictate what kind of city we're going to have in the future.
Fred, instead of unsubstantiated rhetoric, what casino has $10 to $12 an hour jobs? No, I keep hearing that.
Yeah.
And the community foundation, your predecessor in that chair, came out citing
Chair now
that.
has predecessors.
No,
I love
but
it.
like, which casino? You suggested 10 to 12-hour jobs like that casino. Which casino's that?
You know, I'm going for minimum wage jobs. You tell me what the pay rate is for casino employees.
It's a union shop.
Yeah. So what's the pay rate?
No, sir. Mr. Crawford.
What's the pay rate?
Mr. Crawford, those are part-time, non-union jobs that they're
How
only
many of those will we have?
during the expansion, and what is online now is only like coat check stuff.
How many of those will we have?
You know what? There'll be plenty for you, Graham. Don't worry.
I'm fine, Lauren. How many of those will we have?
I'm not employing anybody.
I know you're not.
So I don't want to get into the weeds on this issue. If you want to talk about casino, I'm happy to do that.
Sure, but there's no
I'm
10
not
to
I'm not
12
I'm not a
jobs.
believer. I'm not a believer in casinos flat out.
Great.
But I'm not going to argue that it shouldn't be in our community somewhere. It should be. I think it will be. Not should be. I think it will be. It just shouldn't be downtown. And I think you know, for me, the reasons for that are obvious. You know, casinos by their very nature are like vacuum cleaners. They want to suck up everything. They hoover all the money and all the resources and everything that happens in and around into their facility. That's the nature of the beast. That's
I feel
where.
the Graham Crawford poster of a great big vacuum. Did you
Yeah.
hear that quote?
And that's the way casinos work. And you know wherever you go, any casino you go to, that's their mantra. Get them into the building,
But are you
keep
sure?
them in the building,
So
and
the hundreds of
have them
thousands of
spend all of
dollars-
their money in the building, and then let them go home
So
after.
Flamborough just hasn't got that notion, right? When the keg, just the keg, was one of dozens of examples, $100,000 of prepaid VIP rewards, because Flamborough doesn't know you're supposed to keep them indoors. The $100,000 of tickets for Aquarius, that Flamborough is under the impression that their patrons who like to gamble also like to eat in restaurants, also like to go see theater. Flamborough just didn't get the memo. I hear all this crap, but it's not the reality. It's not the reality, because there isn't, up at Flamborough Downs, a vacuum. They sucked $120 million out of the community.
I don't care if you're talking about Flamborough Downs. I mean, if you look at the casino in Windsor. Let's pick Windsor. been a great boon for downtown Windsor. I mean, it hasn't really
Right,
done
and then
much.
remove it
The
and tell me
irony,
how awesome
the
Windsor is
irony,
without it.
I'm not suggesting they remove it. They're done. We're talking about Hamilton here. Different cities, completely. It's not like it's in Toronto, where you're one of many, many things that people can do in terms of entertainment. It's not like in Niagara, one of many things that people can do in terms of entertainment. In Hamilton, it'll be it. That'll be a concept of, that the casino will try to be the draw. It'll try to be the draw that brings people in. And I don't buy that. I just don't buy that that'll do that. There you go.
So you don't buy that the casino's a draw. You don't buy a casino's a draw. But back to my question to you.
Yep.
You may or may not run for mayor. Do you think that the city has a clear vision right now, Fred?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think if it did, this casino debate wouldn't be quite so visceral?
No, I think you have to go through this debate. I mean, this is not something that you can avoid doing. I think
Does it give you like the heebie-jeebies Pan Am
no, not really.
feeling?
I guess I got therapy. I'm past that. I think we're into I think Terry said sophisticated debate. I think people need to come at these issues very clearly with open minds and look at the issues and come up with their own determination of what they think is right or wrong. I think it's harmful for downtown. That's my assessment.
So let me ask you this, because, what the hell, we're in the Lair. And I think it's a question everybody wants to ask. If you were the mayor, if you did decide to run again, would it be you trying to vindicate yourself for the Pan Am hill you died on, or would it be because you have a real clear vision for the city? Because what I don't want, I'm speaking for myself personally, is another three-way grudge match between Bob, Larry, and Fred. Because Larry, with all due respect to my good friend Larry Deanne, well, whether we're good friends or not is a little bit, it's debatable. But
Shall we ask him?
Yeah, we've had our moments. But the fact is that when Larry ran again, it felt to me at times like he was running to wrest back what you took from him. Yeah. And I don't want you running to wrest back what Bob took from you. So is there something, if you were to run for mayor, that could convince me that there was something new in the proposition?
So that is exactly the assessment that I'll be going through. I can't tell you that right now, but I will not run for mayor just to get back at anybody. I mean, there's no value in that at all.
Because I think we're all going to move if we see that shit happen.
Yeah, no, it's not worthwhile. It's fruitless. And so my assessment will be over the next year, what do I think I want to do? And does it measure up in terms of what the city needs to have happen in terms of its leadership?
But is there a void
now? And if
now?
I have it, then I'll go. And
is there something lacking currently? And I'm not talking about trashing the current mayor. Is there something currently lacking that you can see your leadership filling a void in?
Well, I think there's a lack of vision. I think there's a lack of vision and commitment. I mean, there's too many people sitting on the fence on many of the issues, and I think that you could use more leadership, quite frankly.
Okay, so you've said that, and now I've got to jump down your throat because no, I do. I like Fred a lot, and honestly, I thought that there were things you brought to the table as mayor that we could use more of, right? You had a vision for sustainability. You had, I think, an agenda that just about everybody can agree with. It was ethical. It was progressive. But the one thing that I thought that you were lacking on was leadership, because you abdicated the role of chair. You let other people share that bully pulpit. I understood why you did it, because they were critical of you, but I never thought that was a move a leader makes. On the Pan Am thing, your leadership was challenged. So when you say that the city lacks leadership, and I see sort of the number one criticism that was leveled against you being a lack of that, have you had time to assess your own leadership style? Would you do something differently? Or would we get more of the same type of leader?
No, I'd be more aggressive. But you know what? I mean, there wasn't a lack of leadership, quite frankly. I mean, that's the way it was characterized. And you know what?
That's my own
characterization
that's your
opinion.
As an observer, very adamant observer.
I worked very well with council. We had great relationships with everyone on council.
Did you lead them, or did you get along with them?
No, I think I led them. I put forward a pretty significant, aggressive platform the first time I ran and won. Out of the 100 things that I put forward, about 75% of them got done. I think that's ignored, quite frankly. I'm a mild-mannered guy. I'm not a yeller or a screamer, but I have a vision, and I had a platform, and I had things I wanted to do, and I brought people along to go and do them. Was I afraid to lose votes? No.
Okay, so
And I never would be.
So I'm a
You know, I
screamer.
think that
So,
the
no,
part of
hold
the
on.
debate is, part of democracy is that you're not afraid to have an open discussion with the broader community or members of council on an ongoing basis on various
what were
issues.
those 75%? Economic development funding went in?
No, there was a whole
doubt.
range of them. I mean, I can't pull out the entire platform for you.
But here's what I'm saying, Fred, is that, you know, some of us, I personally, you know, I appreciate that you're not a yeller and screamer, but if you don't tell the world what you're doing or what you've done, then they don't know. So I'm saying right now, you did the economic development thing. You certainly started the integrity commissioner. That was one of your platforms in the election. Whether or not we agree that's had any real impact, the guy got the job. Right?
Initiative, but
Yeah.
it didn't happen until
No,
next
it's not
mayor.
happening effectively. But what are the other things? Like,
You know what,
give me three.
I could give you a long list. So
give me three.
three would be, we pushed forward on the waterfront issue, and certainly the Pan Am was one issue that we got ourselves into for the right
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
That was one of them. Economic development, you mentioned, you know, LRT, we put on the table, in fact. We were initially looking at, you know, rapid transit of some form. No one was talking about LRT. I put LRT on the table and tried to move that along. Involved myself with Metrolinx
Yeah.
for that very reason and got that moving along. I can't, you know,
So-
there's a
so-
bunch of environmental
Okay.
issues that
There
we got
were,
into.
There were. So,
We
yeah.
actually, Lister Block, we got done.
That's Larry's.
There's many that had hands in it. We got the funding, it got finished.
Okay, so let's take LRT, because the mayor has come out and said that the LRT needs a champion and he's not it. And I'm, so,
I am.
but that's what I'm asking, right? Is that you had, and maybe just as an observer of politics, I could do your list for you, but you had a number of things that you did. Some of them got some traction, others did not. But some of them remain as giant issues in this community, like our sustainable future, like the LRT. And I think the reason why so many people listened to your Laircast last year was because they crave that progressive agenda. So what I'm just saying to you is, if you were to come back as mayor, and I know you haven't decided, maybe this is part of your focus group study, but if you were to come back as mayor, would you add a more aggressive leadership style to get those things done in your 4-year term?
Absolutely. So LRT, I'm passionate
See,
about.
hey?
Laura, you
Takes
can't
some work to
LRT,
get this shit
teach
out.
chicken to be pork.
I'm
Fred is
working
Fred.
on it, man.
LRT needs a champion. It's a critical issue for this city
Lauren's
in terms
peeing.
of
It's
our
not that he's
future.
not interested, he's peeing.
Oh, I thought he was making a statement. That's okay. We can talk. We
If he
can.
pees on you, it's a statement.
If we were
he pees in the
talking
wash-
casino, would you be leaving? I don't think so. Oh, so now he's back.
I
Yeah.
voted for you more than once.
Hey, God bless you.
No, like,
No, and I'm happy to hear that,
See,
Lauren.
I can't say that. Maybe one time I voted for Fred.
Hey, Fred, can we talk about minimum wage casino jobs and see if Lauren stays?
Yeah, that's right.
Suddenly his
He'll be
bladder's
back
not
in
so
a flash.
urgent.
He'll be back in a flash.
No smoking in the wash. No, I'm kidding.
LRT
yeah.
is a really big issue for our city. And you know what? We haven't. There's no champion on it other than, you know, council. Quite frankly, council has taken some leadership role on this.
Right.
They've actually kept it moving and moving it forward. The problem is that if the message that the province is getting is that it's not really a high
Well, the
high
mayor
priority
himself said it
commitment.
needs a champion, and I
Then-
ain't it. He said
so-
it on Bill Kelly.
And the last election, you know, that same statement was made, and the province actually backed away from actually making any kind of commitment to LRT,
But now
which
it's
I
on the
think is
top 10
harmful.
list for Metrolinx.
Yep.
But what, you know, sitting on watching this, it seems to me when I see other Canadian cities with mayors who epitomize vision at this time. You know, it's a wonderful time for Canada. We're sitting on in one of the best positions globally we've ever had. And any city that has both hustle and culture, momentum and leadership can do great things. We've seen it with Calgary. We've seen it with other cities. I want it in Hamilton, and I want a leader who can get us there.
Sure, but I mean, it's not just a leadership issue. You know, it's a
big part of
collective,
it.
it's a
It's a
collective
big part of
council
it.
issue as well. You know, you need some council members that are on the progressive side. And I think Hamilton has been somewhat challenged by that issue. It's also challenged by the urban-suburban issue.
Mm-hmm.
Not unlike Toronto has the same problem. Halifax has the same problem. And we have to get past those issues, and we have to, you know, start electing some new folks with some new ideas
So,
that have
so
some
let
new
me throw
energy.
this at you, Ed, to the room, because this is something that came up today or yesterday. In recent months, the ability for the social media world in Hamilton to really be heard it's every newspaper article I now refers to the Twitterverse or to Facebook, right? Because, and I've had this argument with many people, the Twitterverse in Hamilton is a microcosm of our community. Everybody who's a leader.
Thugs.
Well, shut up. Everybody who's a leader, what have we been called? Thugs? Yippers is another one. But yeah. So, but here's my thing, right? Is that Hamilton? I've heard this from people outside of our community. Is kind of leading in social media engagement, and the people, if I get followed on Twitter, it's not because I'm clever on Twitter. It's because I get followed generally, and so does Mark Chamberlain, so does everybody else who's on Twitter. It's a combination of your average Joe to your cabinet ministers. So it is a microcosm of the greater community dialogue. And because it mobilizes so quickly and it's so efficient, it's been able to have some real momentum. And I have had people say to me in the last 24 hours, it will be the tipping point for the municipal election inertia that we've had in this community for the last 30 years. Council that has had comfort in their ability to stay and in their ability to be known locally by residents will suddenly have a force they haven't experienced before. So it is a great thing. And I'm almost I don't know about you guys, Martinez and Matt and Mark and Graham and all these other people and Aaron, everyone's on Twitter in this room. I don't want to get too excited about it because I've seen election after election where I've sat on the dais with Terry Cook and 27% vote and nothing changes. The power of incumbency might be altered by the force of the ability for us to connect. So is 2014, in your estimation, you know politics more intimately than I do, and so does Lauren, is this a possibility that our city finally says we need a council that reflects our positions, not a council whose names we most easily recognize?
Well, I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm like you. I'm not convinced that that's necessarily the case, but I'm hopeful. I mean,
Are you guys hopeful? Let me do a tour of the room.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are you hopeful, Nina? Martinez, you hopeful?
Yeah, but I question your value on social media.
Okay.
Because
Well, social media and Urbanicity magazine, clearly the two have to go together, because without the print edition of Urbanicity, there's nothing.
Good point.
I'm just messing, sorry.
I mean, one thing I realized running in Ward 2 was that, I mean, I pounded social media. I mean,
But that was then. This is now.
Pounded social media. Yeah, but you hit 50 years old, and the percentage of the population that votes is huge.
Right.
Percentage of the population on social media.
Grandma's
very,
not
very
on Twitter.
small.
Right.
So there.
Grandma.
And I understand that.
demographics
And,
matter.
that was my reaction, was that I've heard this before. Don't think that it's going to be suddenly this. But let me ask the question, though. I just want to pull the room. I do this once a Laircast. Matt, do you think that the new discussion or the social media or something is going to make this election different than in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I've called this the political singularity. There's no turning back. Every year it's going to double. What you had encountered in 2010 might as well have been, you know, the IBM, the Commodore 64 of political engagement. The people that get this and get it well are going to do very well. And what it's done is it's given us a chance to get to know our elected officials in ways that we would have never got to know them before. Once things are said, they never come back. So we're not on radio anymore. So a lot of these radio, you know, these DJ jockeys that come out, or even in print, we're in two-way communication, and we're holding people accountable, and we're calling people on bullshit every single day. So it's done. It's never going to be the same. And we're going to see this. We're going to see this in 2014. We're going to see this in ways where the councillors that are incumbents that have adapted, because there's a 90% re-election on incumbency. That is going to be flipped on its head. And people are either going to get with it or they're not. And one of the reasons why young people don't vote is because they've never been listened to before. This is the first time a guy my age can direct tweet a minister, a portfolio, a cabinet minister, and be engaged in a conversation. So it's over.
Awesome. Okay. And I think it's kind of halfway between. Go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, well, no, I would say, in fact, Fred is sitting in the chair. And Fred, I can cast back to when our city, our future was done, and I was part of that group. We had a website, so we were, quote, using social media as it existed then. And you fast forward, what, 3 years? 3 years, and the dramatic change that's happened between then. This was current, active people on social media to the no casino downtown Hamilton now. It's night and day. And Matthew, I think, is absolutely right. In 18 months, in 24 months, it's going to be completely different again. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I can tell you it looks completely different than it did 3 years ago.
And I guess, Martinez, that's what I'm saying. What you did with your engagement in 2010, it's a different world now, and that's just how fast stuff changes. But I want to hear from you, Mark, because you jumped on Twitter like a week and a half ago. And but here's my favorite thing is that here's what I love about Mark for this new Laircast. In case people didn't catch the one with Terry Cook, and I don't know when I'll air these, but you jumped on Twitter with force, right? Focused on the casino issue. Everyone has their voice on Twitter, and that's kind of been your thing. Although you've been engaging me on the romanticism of coffee lately, so you're expanding your dialogue. But my picture still kills. But my point is that you and Terry Cook have been engaged in this really fascinating, extremely elongated, thread on Twitter about the casino. Terry Whitehead. Cook. I'm sorry, Terry White. Terry Cook jumps into it just to be pithy. He dabbles. But Mark and Terry Whitehead have been in this protracted, at times intense, and I'll get to this when we have your Lair cast. But you have
Does Terry know he is?
Yeah, no, Terry's working on it. But you're like in the deep end. You dove right into the deep end on Twitter. So what's your response to my question? Is social media going to change the face of municipal politics in 2014?
If I'm on Twitter, everyone's going to get on Twitter now.
It is. I am too. We're all fellow narcissists in this Lair.
No, people. I mean, I've been on Twitter longer than the conversation with Terry and others. I mean, I started using Twitter as a wonderful way of connecting into larger communities of information. So the people I follow are following people who are digging into information about the things I'm really interested in, and it's a phenomenal, almost a fire hose filter though, of great ideas. And so the things that I'm tracking,
Tweet that quote. Come on.
It is a fire hose, but it is filtered. There's such a rich environment for information, and I love that. But it's also really interesting for.
Sorry, Lauren just said tweet a picture of my fire hose. You missed that, Mark.
Does it have a tattoo?
Does it have a tattoo? That's right.
It is the Lair. We can't be too serious and sophisticated for too long.
Time to use the crop.
But other folks here have been on a lot longer than I have. But the fact that it is a two-way conversation, and there's bad manners on there, but there's bad manners on other things as well. Yes. But if you kind of filter your way around that and just ignore some of that stuff, the amount of conversation and the number of people now that I'm in conversation with on critical issues, on interesting issues, and it's not just the casino, it's a whole bunch of stuff out there, and it's a really interesting shared environment. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's true.
And so, in these kinds of innovations, it's what we make of them. And I don't think we can predict necessarily what 3 years is going to look like. We can't look what 5 years is going to look like. We know that when someone starts university today, that a whole bunch of jobs that they thought they were going to go don't exist anymore, and a whole bunch of jobs don't exist. And that's because of the nature of the innovations going on around communications. People are dying to communicate. People are dying to want to be heard. And so this is not going to be driven because of technology. This is driven because of people's wants and needs, and the technology is simply enabling it.
And I can't wait to do our other cast because you're the innovation guy, but you reminded me of a quote by Chaos, who's a Canadian musician, rapper, composer, genius. And he said, don't hate the media, be the media. And I think that's the best thing I've heard since the media is the message. The medium is the message. It's just basically saying, you know what, you're so empowered, you are the media. But Aaron, don't walk away from the mic. What's your position on this?
This is just a really, I had to follow up Mark and his statement there, and this is a really tough position I'm in. But at the end of the day, basically, people are going to get information, and they're going to decipher it however they want to. And yes, social media will, especially Twitter, kind of sway people one way or another to figure out what they want, and at the end of the day, they're going to make their decision based on their own judgments, their own values, I guess, right? So it doesn't matter where they're getting the information from. It's just another avenue that it's coming from. So
it's far more personal when you can tweet to your counselor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your counselor tweets back. Yeah. And you can engage in an argument.
You can engage in it, but again, it's just the information that you're getting, and of course you're getting the information, but it's more information. Yes, it's a conversation amongst people you couldn't have communicated with 5-10 years ago, but it's still information that you're going to get.
So you're still going to filter it through your own values. But
right,
Mike, you're a man. You're 47. You've lived a bit. Do tell. What's your position on this fancy new thing they call the World Wide Webs?
No, it's incredible. No, seriously. I think back to where I was in the 70s. And then where I was in the 90s.
In the 70s, weren't you hanging out at Trudeau's place, smoking weed with the nanny? I thought we established that. Sorry, he was 47 in the 70s. You're an asshole. So, go ahead.
Just from the 90s into the new millennium, it's just incredible. And someone mentioned it earlier, it's just going to be exponential, truly exponential over the next couple of years.
Mr. Cameroon, to an election, the voting patterns have not changed. Grandma, who's not on Twitter, still dictates elections. Period. So you're all talking to yourselves, but those who aren't a part of...
Lauren, you're trying to make an argument that you can't make in such a short time. And this is what it's all down to. Martinez said in 2010, he engaged quite a bit in social media. You think that in 4 years, it's not going to change so much more than it's changed in the last 40 years.
Martinez got a good chunk of those who were engaged. But the JFAR voters were Cable 14 watchers, not on Twitter, who were there.
So I could be mayor, is what you're saying.
Voters are not on Twitter.
They're not going to be the same in 2014.
It's not the medium, it's a medium.
Okay, so let's just finish. Let's finish our round the room before we attack. Rob, what's your feeling on this? Speaking to your mic, dear producer. It's true. He never speaks away.
Twitter is full of virtual thugs running around with digital shibs, stabbing everybody in the back.
How do you really feel? And
J-Rob?
you know what? Yeah. And you know what? Lauren just called you the conservative senator who's now an independent in the Senate. You look. What's that guy's name again? Not because you're a rapist.
Or
did
alleged
he
rapist.
rape? Was it alleged rape?
I don't know.
Oh man, something bad. But he looks like him, doesn't he?
He does.
And you know what? It's ironic because Justin Trudeau was fighting in the gym above us a couple of days ago, and you look like the guy that he beat in the Thrill on the Hill. See, you know. Brazeau. See, is that coincidence? I think not. I think Justin was upstairs because he thought you were Brazeau. Yeah.
And not J-Rob. Gotta go at it.
You know, Rob is being facetious, I think, about Twitter, but
So the bottom
because
line
Rob's. But hold on, we got one more person. Let's hear from a lady in the Lair,
Oh, yes.
and then we'll hear from CM.
A lady in the list.
Sorry, my friend. Can you grab the microphone? Did you miss that?
got
So
it.
let's hear from a Lair.
And also from her.
Poor Fred. Poor Fred came all the way down here to...
Okay.
I've been on Twitter for a while, but honestly, I'm one of those quiet Twitters. Like, I don't say anything, I just read it
You
all.
troll. You just watch us all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that in a relatively short period of time, I know who I want to listen to. You know, I get tons of the stuff, all of the, you know, for my work and personally, and I very quickly filter it to go, yeah, I want to know what he's saying.
It's all about filtering.
And so,
Yeah.
although I agree that, you know, it creates, you know, it creates an expanded conversation, and there's opportunities to connect in a way that you could never before, and you can reach so many other people. The bottom line is if we have the same counselors talking the same way they've been talking for years, the people on Twitter are going to tune them out. It still comes back to it's what they're saying.
You know, put your hand up in the air,
whether or
Matt, just jump
not
in.
we're going to listen or not. You know, it doesn't matter if we're reading it on Twitter or in Urbanicity or listening to it on CHML. If it's shit in, we're going to tune it out. And I think that's why a lot of young people, I'd like to call myself one of them, but that'd probably be a bit of a stretch, are not engaged because they're not listening because
Is that why you're dressed like you're on the
interested in
prowl?
what's being
Lauren's chair.
said.
There is
So
a
my
coup
point
d'etat.
is you got to get some of those young people into the conversation and running so that some of their contemporaries will be interested in what they have to say.
Let's amend the earlier statement. She's not on the Tika cheerleading squad. She's on the prowl.
You're an asshole. Okay.
So the bottom line is it's going to have impact. but
Matt's
we
trying to
don't
have
know-
a real point here. We'll
we
listen
don't
to
know-
Matt.
we
Go
don't
ahead.
yet know what the
Lauren's
impact's gonna be.
consoling my friend who was just called the cougar.
I'll say this to her point about engagement.
Oh, the prowl's the junior cheerleading squad.
Oh, that's what you
Oh, my word.
So,
Okay, go ahead, Matt,
no,
please.
to your point about engagement, I'm sure the imams and the ayatollahs of the world didn't think that Twitter was going to matter, but Arab Spring happened.
It did.
Because it mobilizes people in a way that subverts all types of mainstream media. So there doesn't have to be a call to arms in The Spectator anymore. we can set that up. There doesn't have to be an article in Urbanicity. I can send a tweet. We can just end around all media. It's over. And what we saw in the developing world and what we continue to see there, look, I get tweets from Liberia. I mean, for Christ, there's conversations in refugee camps that are coming out where atrocities could happen in places of the world we never know about it. Now we know. Yeah, awesome. So on a much
Partners fired, for God's sake.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
That's us, brother.
I'll give you a
Yeah. I haven't seen cheesy chest thumping like that in years.
I agree with the mobilization thing, but you know what? I don't really give a shit.
We should be on
what
camera for this.
Terry Whitehead is talking about. Okay. It doesn't matter. I don't think he's going to mobilize no matter what. You know, no matter what form or format he uses.
But I think to your point about the councillors on Twitter saying the same stupid shit they may or may not say on council, but the point is that we can have an instant response and an instant connection with them that might have been just preserved for people of power and influence in the past. So there is sort of a democratization of it. But I want to get back, one more from Graham, jump on the mic, then we'll get back to our guest. Who's our guest?
I will.
A former mayor, I think. Fred?
I don't
Where's
mean,
Fred?
But,
Where's
Waldo? But here's an example, though, of a guy that I would not have thought would have made use of social media, and it's Bernie Morelli. And I know Nick does, and we all know Nick does, but Bernie was actually in his car the other day driving around his ward looking to figure out which streets had been plowed and hadn't been plowed, and was tweeting about it.
Yeah.
And I thought, in fact, I tweeted back to him, and he responded, "Good for you." This is an example, a simple example of a, let's just say, I mean, Bernie and I think we might be similar in age. He might be a few years older than me, but we're not that far apart. But here's a guy who's driving around in his car tweeting, doing something as simple that is high value for constituents. And I thought, that is really neat.
I hope he's not tweeting and driving at the same time.
I'm sure he was.
But Graham, let me just tell you, if you want to see the example, and we'll bring this back to Fred, because really we know you're here, Fred. We just like to, you said you would like engagement of the community. Here you go. The best mayor, I think, other than for Twitter engagement, is Cory Booker. He is phenomenal.
Bill Maher.
No, not from Bill Maher. He was on Bill Maher, but no, Cory Booker from his actual play. Yeah, he's been on. Yeah. Yes, he's the mayor.
Rabford.
He's the mayor of Newark, and he is phenomenal. He responds to citizens' minor requests. He's amazing. Just to any mayor, and I've asked him multiple times to move to Hamilton and be the mayor. Follow this man. So.
Nenshi in Calgary. Yeah. He's awesome.
Who's that? Oh, I'll have to follow Naheed. I'm not following him.
Yeah.
And he's Indian in Calgary.
I know, it's amazing. But so
It's like a black guy in Ward 3, man.
what I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is that here's a mayor who is phenomenally popular, but a large part of it is his engagement in this direct 360 that Matt Green talks about. So Fred, we did around the room because the point is that it seems to me like Hamilton is changing. And, I don't say that lightly, right? 20 years of watching this stuff, you've been right in the middle of it. I'm just an armchair commentator. But 20 years of watching this stuff, it seems to me we hit a tipping point. It seems to me, along Gladwell's theory, a bunch of small actions have made a massive change. And we're there now. We're on the other side of it. Whether it's downtown momentum or citizen engagement or social media activism, so if you were coming back as mayor, or even if you just stay vibrant in the community in some other way, don't you think we're in a new Hamilton?
Absolutely we are, and we need to kind of push that forward even more so. And I still think it's an open question whether the logosphere, blogosphere, Twittersphere can actually overcome the incumbency. I think that remains to be seen. I think we'll find out next election actually if that's true. I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm the demographics don't necessarily line up. I think I think Martinez was kind of talking about that, yeah. And Lauren was, because the older population tends to get out and vote more often, and they tend to be less active on Twitter and those other kind of blogging opportunities. But you know what? From my view has always been that we need to look to the next generation and bring them into the process and get them elected and get their new energy and new vision. And we need to turn that over much more often than we have in Hamilton over the last 25 years. So I'm not arguing against my friends on council. I'm arguing for competitive, races with, you know, vision and ideas and energy and enthusiasm, and a next generation of leadership that can come forward. They can come forward and actually start to move this community forward even faster.
Well, I think we need a new leadership for the new Hamilton, and I'm just asking because you're a person who has a real possibility, if you choose to run, of having that chance to be that leader. What does that new leadership look like?
Well, you know, and I'm not so sure I'm the right guy, to be honest with you. You know, I have to assess that myself. You know, there are lots of other people that maybe should be stepping forward that are of another generation that want to take the city in a whole new direction. So I'm not yet convinced personally that I'm the guy that ought to be stepping into that role next time around. Maybe I am. I mean, you know, and it has a lot to do with what kind of support is out there.
But when do you make that call? And I ask you this because this chicken game, and I mean chicken not in the sense of bok coward, I mean in the sense of like chicken with another candidate, game that gets played right up to the deadline of signing, leaves the community with a very short time frame to really engage and support. And there are people in this room who have said to me, if somebody would decide that this city deserves great new leadership and that they're willing to put their name out there earlier, they could experience a level of support and mobilization that they won't get if they decide to play that chicken game till the summer before the deadline. So I'm just wondering, why the wait? Why do you have to wait another 14 months to know you want to run the city?
Yeah, we're still a ways out. So you know what, I think from a decision point of view, I think a year in advance or 8 months in advance is plenty.
Okay.
That'll be kind of my mindset, I think.
So this November is a year?
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Lauren always says, you don't want to peak too early.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but that's just with you, buddy. Soft mouth.
Are we going to play firefighter again?
He's bringing out the hose.
Quit leading me down that path. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens. But you know what? There's lots of things going on in our community that need attention right now. So casino is one of them, and you know, it needs to have the thorough debate. And I'm glad to see that you know, all sides are kind of getting engaged, and that Twitter and all these other social media avenues are having impact. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
You know, and it's interesting because to me, social media is it's just the conversation at the local cafe happening in the speed of our current society. It's no different than that. Right. It's, you know, if it used to happen on radio shows, or it used to happen when people read The Spectator, it used to happen, it's still happening in those places, but it's also happening. So it's like it's an and, not an other, right. You know? So there are people like myself who read The Spectator every single letter. And we also, you know, read emails, and we also watch Twitter, and we watch Facebook. So it's a community dialogue. But Cable 14, of course.
Yes,
and the feedback,
primary news source right there.
Well, I think it's becoming because, you know, people are look. Was he making fun? I took that as 100%.
Really?
Yeah, he was.
Right,
there's lots of people that watch Cable 14.
Sure.
Of course.
What are the numbers now?
Big from just the response that I get.
Based on the numbers we deal with, they're phenomenal. You know, like even the lowliest program gets 30% viewership.
And the Osho gets like 90. Are we at the top of the heap?
There's a 9 in there somewhere.
I'm sorry. My bad. 99 for the Osho. I was. You know what? 89. You know what? I was being humble. I'm sorry. It was 99. I apologize. But yeah, so there's lots of sources. So Fred, yes. Since you didn't say with pressing urgency, I need to be in the Laircast to announce myself, but you said, hey, that was fun. I'd like to go back. Did we cover what you wanted to talk about, or did we get on one of our classic tangents?
You went off into a social media tangent just a little bit, but you know what? It's your show, not my show, so I'm not
it's a collective show, hence the social media.
I mean, you know, the city of Hamilton. You know, my view was that we spent far too much time chasing things that don't have value, and making decisions out of fear or out of some sort of desperation. And we ought to have a lot more confidence in our city that we are a worthy city that can make choices, and you know, and we're in the process of doing that on the casino piece right now. So my opinion on the casino piece is viable. Someone else's opinion is also viable. I happen to think it's not a good idea to put it downtown. Put it on the highway.
Can you reconcile? I agree. Let's keep us away from downtown, the good people of the mountain. Can you reconcile this for me, though? Downtown is so chock full of vulnerable people at risk and is so awesome. How can it be both? In terms of the fight for the casino, I don't.
I'm not saying it's awesome. I'm saying it'll be.
No.
It'll be less awesome with a
I'm
casino.
talking to Fred.
Sorry, Bill.
Thank you. No,
So
seriously.
I've never made the.
Fred, we're tweeting you answers right now.
Okay, all right. Go for it.
Was that J. Rob? No. It's like a punch from the left and a punch from the right. We are way too shitty for a casino, and we're way too awesome for a casino. No, but
I'm not making that
I have
argument,
never
so
said we're way too
I'm not
shitty for
going
a
there.
casino. I don't even know where that comes from.
That's a casino argument, in fact, is that downtown is so shitty, so you might as well shit on it some more.
It's frozen.
That's a common.
Put it anywhere except for where the fucked people are that can't handle it. That comes from your end, not ours.
Where do
No,
you
it
live?
doesn't. It comes from Dr. Elizabeth Richardson, Lauren. Fight her, not us.
I'd love to.
Yeah, should we bring her the Lair? Oh, you're
do
such
you
a
have skin in this game?
Once again, a
You just
classic
care
comment,
about
Lauren.
What's that?
I just like to
Do
gamble.
you represent anybody?
He does
No,
work.
sir.
He does
Hey, Rob,
work
can
with the
we get that
Mercantis on the
soundbite?
convention
And
center.
Joe?
You do work with the Mercantis.
Health medical officer?
Okay. So do you do work you do any work on this Rockhammer proposal? No?
Nope.
So you have no skin in this game?
No.
Come on.
You just concerned citizen that wants downtown to
Who
improve.
attends every single council
You're not a
meeting.
concerned citizen.
By no means. Yes, a concerned citizen, but also a dude who likes to go to casinos.
Oh, come on.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay.
A degenerate gambler.
No, you know what? Stop using the word degenerate.
No,
Because
that's-
I looked up the
that's-
definition and it means lacking physical, moral, and emotional values. So I think that's a pretty brutal thing to say about anybody. Yeah. That may apply for you, but you mentioned it in terms of other people when you're talking in our last Laircast. So on a serious note,
Yes.
Lauren does work on the convention center now that they're working on that HEC 5 bid, as you know. And it is, you have said, in the best interest of the convention center to have a hotel, which was going to be part of the deal before the casino, but even better with the casino, as I've heard you guys present it. So you have some skin in said game, even if it's just tangential to the convention.
The exact same amount of skin as my friend Mr. Crawford, who is a business owner in the downtown as well.
Really?
What's the difference?
Seriously?
Well, what?
What's the difference?
Who's got the contract? Who has the contract for the convention center?
Graham Crawford? No.
Who has the contract for the convention center?
This guy.
Who?
This guy, me, right
The guys
here.
that you work for, the guys that pay you, are the
No,
same
no,
guys
no.
that
I don't
bid in
work
the
for them.
casino.
I am a partner with them on the convention center, and I've been clear about that.
Do you have any points in the casino?
No.
Lauren, if you ran the convention center and/or the casino the way I run Hamilton History and Heritage on my own money and no income whatsoever, I'm with you. But you don't, and you have no intention of doing that. So stop with the comparison. You just compared me to
Bottom
you.
line is, I'm
In
not.
terms of having a stake in the downtown.
I have a stake in downtown that I pay for myself. You're not going to pay for this. You don't now, and you're not going to.
I'm not putting up any money? Interesting.
Are you?
Of course I am.
How much?
To what?
How can you not be involved in putting up money?
On the convention center. Pay attention, man.
Well, I just don't. I'm thinking about the Festival of Friends, and I thought you were asking for money for that.
So having said
Well,
that,
that's
you know,
just-
there's no argument to be made for. I'm not concerned about Carmen's and their wish to make money and to have a profitable enterprise. I don't blame them.
This is not the
I don't blame
sophisticated
them.
debate Terry Cook said we're having. Blow me green is not sophisticated.
Yeah, that wasn't particularly
Yeah,
sophisticated.
go ahead.
How many people did the convention center lay off? We're talking about net job creation. How many people did the convention center lay off, and how much is that going to cost in terms of severance? Now that we're talking about it, let's have the conversation.
Sure. The layoffs have not come into
Can we have
effect.
this one later?
Yeah. Can we finish with Brad?
Yeah.
And then I'll be happy
It's
to
okay.
answer
You know
your
what?
questions.
It's all
I'll
right.
answer your
You know, you
questions.
can talk all night if you want. If you want to finish up with me, then you can have the floor after that. No problem. But
That's
you know what?
okay.
I have no argument with Carmen.
No, you know what, Fred?
Carmen's is legitimate business owner, wants to put forward a legitimate proposition to make money. God bless him. That doesn't mean the city has to roll over and take it on.
And it doesn't mean they won't come up with something else if the casino
knows?
doesn't fly, because downtown has a lot of value for any investor. And when it gets to blow me green, I agree with him. To our good former mayor, thank you for answering my questions honestly about your potential leadership style and or your potential platform. And we look forward to seeing what decision that you make. And I love that you were having this conversation with us now, because a lot of people want to know. They want to know if you're back in the game and what that might look like for the city.
Well, I'm certainly back in Hamilton. That's
Thank
for
you.
sure. Thank you.
Well done.
Chats in the Lair is a Power Group production. Visit us at powergroup.ca or laircast.com, or check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.